bro. We're recording. What's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. What was that you just said?
I said it's time to get canceled. That's
All right.
hilarious. So
Emergency
you called me
broadcast.
today. Heck yeah, super emergency. You called me today at what 9:15ish, 9ish, somewhere around there this morning, um, and dropped a bomb on me, man. I'd never heard anything quite like this in my life. Wasn't expecting that type of news. Um, let them know what you told me, bro.
Everybody, I'm pregnant.
If only, bro. That'd be more stomachable than
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's crazy. So
Well,
Congress signed a law, bro.
yeah. Um, Apparently, it's illegal to say anything derogatory about Israel or to comment in any way about anything that might have to do with Israel or Jews in general. So, which is just insane, man.
That's crazy.
There's never been any kind of protections for any race or any religion or anything like that to where a government. We're going to play a few videos tonight. I'll let them go through it and let you guys see for yourself. Um, Read it for yourself. It sounds crazy, but this is what it is. And we're going to go into a little bit of history. Ever since October 7th, and the attack on Israel, things have got a little crazy. Some true colors have been shown, and I just think it's about time to talk about this and to open it up. It's kind of on the dark edges of the internet and in the books. You know, you have to read the books to find certain things. You have to go back and look at encyclopedias. You have to go back and look at genealogies. You have to understand geography and where people come from. You have to have a pretty good understanding, or you can get fooled about anything. So we're going to go and dig into what is at the bottom of almost every rabbit hole. When you get to it, it comes back to the same people that it's always been, the Bell worshippers, and you'll see for yourself. I would say, but I don't want to break the law.
Hilarious.
We got a couple videos lined up for everybody tonight, so let's check out that first one, Bronson, and it kind of goes through the law in a comedic type of way, but you get to just see what's actually in the law, and see other people are not happy about this. And I suppose this guy, I don't know, Ross, he seems like he'd probably be a little more on the left, right? We can run it from the.
Yeah, I mean, I call me old school, man, but when I see the man bun and the mustache, I immediately assume we're probably not going to have much in common.
He seems like a cool dude, but
yeah, it's all right.
I don't know. We'd probably line up on some things and not on some other things, but I mean, this is anybody, that's an American, I think, would feel this way. Like I think he even says in the video, like, I'm an American citizen,
Right.
So let's go ahead and check it out.
All right. Make sure you can if you can hear them, they can hear them, okay?
Definition that is about to be legally binding. Here's some of those examples that they were talking about in the bill. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews. Right on. I mean, like, let's not dehumanize. What do they mean by that? Such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. We'll come back to that. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interest of their own nation. We're looking at you, Anthony Blinken. Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g. by claiming that the state of Israel is illegitimate. Yeah, that's illegal now. I wonder why they'd have to make that illegal. Applying double standards by requiring... You mean double standards like not requiring them to, listen to the International Court of Justice? Double standards like them not having to listen to the UN? Double standards like bombing civilians isn't a war crime? I mean, we would never want to apply double standards to Israel, obviously. I'm not going to read that one. holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. I mean, fair game. Lots of Jews are anti-Israel for great reason. But I couldn't help but notice that in the bill, there's the section at the bottom that says constitutional protection. Nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish or infringe upon any right protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Boom! Game on, baby! So I figured I'd exercise a bit of that free speech in the First Amendment of the United States of America Constitution, of which I am a citizen, and point out that these are the only 7 senators in the U.S. Senate that have not taken AIPAC money. 93 out of 100 senators in our government are taking money from the Israel lobby. You know, the one that brags about how they bribe all our politicians to keep Congress pro-Israel. Because, you know, when something's the right thing to do, you have to pay people to believe it. Otherwise, why would they believe it? And you have to ensure that any of those bad people that don't believe it don't get elected, because they're bad. The single most influential big money group in Democratic electoral politics. Because, you know, Democratic electoral politics is all about big money and using that big money to defeat all the bad people that don't love Israel. Like, take this one, for example, where they elected Shontel Brown. In the 2022 election cycle, Shontel Brown was the top recipient of Israeli money, over $1 million. Just some random woman from Ohio. And that's because the ADL has this nice list of the most radical anti-Israel candidates in the 2022 primary. And Shontel's opponent, Nina Turner, is on that list. She's a very bad person. But I just couldn't help going back to these myths about Jewish people. And like, I generally actually try to keep my criticisms to Zionists and Israel. But like, when someone tries to make speech illegal, you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to do that speech. Because you can go fuck yourselves. That's why. And I would use that speech to point out that Google was founded by 3 Jewish people. The New York Times was founded and owned by a Jewish family, the Sulzbergers. Instagram and Facebook are obviously both run by Jewish people. David Zaslav is the president and CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery, who is also CNN. He's Jewish. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney. He's Jewish. Just a quick reminder how much Disney owns. We're talking FX, Marvel, ABC, ESPN, National Geographic, Pixar. You know, they even own Star Wars. Brian Roberts, CEO of Comcast. Remember, Comcast owns NBC, MSNBC, all those. He literally goes to Israel every year to compete in the Jewish Olympics, the Maccabiah Games. Brian Levine is the CEO of Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon. He's Jewish. The Newhouse family owns Advanced Publications. They're Jewish. In case you wanted to know who Advanced Publications runs, it's all these magazines. I mean, we could keep going, but honestly, the only 2 that really stand out are X, is owned by Elon Musk. We all know what they tried to do to him. And then we have TikTok. I already made a whole reel, or 10, about how TikTok is actually getting banned for other reasons than China, and how, what's his name? Steve Mnuchin, who is Jewish, is going to try to buy TikTok with all of his buddies. Like, never mind, I'll just let you go watch that one for yourself. I mean, we could keep going, but so far we've hit all of these companies. So, remind me again about the myth of Jews controlling the media? Or does this bill outlaw reading too? Because I've just been reading a little bit. And obviously there's nothing wrong with Jewish people owning companies. And there's nothing wrong with Jewish people like being the CEO of basically every media company in America. As long as they're not more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews than they are to the interests of their own nation. Which you obviously need look no further than Ben Shapiro and the Israeli Wire to like realize that that would never happen. Except all that's illegal now, so that's how you know it's not true. Be careful not to go reading the wrong facts out there, because some of those are pretty anti-Semitic. And don't think too much about how the Balfour Declaration was given to Lord Rothschild and was directly a trade of this land for you helping get America into this war. Or do I have my history wrong? Is it anti-Semitic to claim that the Rothschilds were the driving force behind making Israel a state? I'm a little confused on what's anti-Semitic these days.
All right, that's good there,
and in case humor and sarcasm.
Man, I'm telling you what, bro, it's hard to watch it and not get irritated. It's just difficult. This is that. If anybody ever wanted to go check it out, HR 6090. Got all your information there. It's just Google Bill 6090. It's not like it's hard to find or anything. Man, I'll tell you what, that is something else, bro.
Yeah.
Something else.
You can't say the Jews killed Christ. They've made parts of the Bible illegal, basically to say at certain places, and don't think that won't apply. Maybe not at first, so it doesn't cause outrage. You know how it goes, incremental moves, but don't be surprised if that doesn't apply to your 501c3 churches. And if you guys don't know what that is, if you go to like a big mega church, like around where we are, I won't name them, but they, believe me, they're a 501c3 tax-free corporation, and they cannot say or do certain things, or they can risk their tax status. And under this administration, believe me, that'll be enforced big time. Sometimes it's enforced more, sometimes it's enforced less, just depending on how Christian friendly the administration is. But believe me, it'll be enforced. So if anybody from the pulpit reads 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, 14 through 16, that will that'd be a crime.
Let's read it. Let's break the law. So 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 13. Let me get my attitude right. We're reading the word of God here. Let me stop being facetious. For this cause also thank we God without ceasing, because when ye received the word of God, which ye heard of us, ye received it not as the word of men, but as it is in truth, the word of God, which effectually worketh also in you that believe. For ye, brethren, became the followers of the churches of God, which in Judea are in Christ Jesus. For ye also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Jews, who both killed the Lord Jesus and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not God, and are contrary to all men. It's anti-Semitic, man. We gotta ban 1 Thessalonians.
It says it right there. They're contrary to all men.
It says they killed Christ, man. They killed the prophet Stephen. I mean,
they killed all the prophets.
Yeah,
they get their hands on.
Who's it? James? James, they sawed in half. I mean, come on, man.
That's just the apostles. I mean, the prophets in the Old Testament.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm talking about for all time. And that was the actual Jews. But we'll get to that in a minute. But, like, they were already infiltrated, I believe, at this time. I believe that they practiced 2 different calendars. I mean, there's a lot we can get into here. But just for right now, that verse, I mean, that right there is a crime now. So I saw Tucker Carlson posted on X earlier that, you know, they basically made the New Testament illegal.
Right.
And, you know, we should have talked about this beforehand, but, you know, the Noahide laws are a thing. I did see that they had posted something about the Noahide laws in Germany, you know. And these people have basically captured Germany. They've captured the West completely. And nobody has the balls to do anything. Sorry, but that's just how it is.
Boy, they've really covered this up. This was a lot easier to find about 5 years ago.
What are you looking for?
Noahide laws.
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, wow, this is a lot harder to find than what it used to be. That's just crazy. That's George Bush, right? Signed that into law?
No. Well, the Noahide laws more or less is just basically what you could look forward to. Being a Christian will be considered idolatry, and idolatry is punishable on death. Well, this is a rabbit hole we can go down, I think, at a different time. But when you use the Noahide laws, and we'll talk about this here in a minute, or we can talk about it now, actually. The Noahide laws would encompass all people on Earth, okay? Because when you talk about the laws that Moses gave, that is just basically for Israel. You talk about, the law for Islam. You know what I mean? That's for Islam. And when you talk about, Christ, the doctrine of Christ, that's the doctrine of Christ in conjunction with the Old Testament, of course. But if you talk about the doctrine of Christ, really that only applies to Christians. But Noahide laws, everybody that is alive today descended from somebody on that boat, according to the Abrahamic faiths, right? You with me, Rawson?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody on that boat did. So the Noahide laws would cover everybody on Earth. So it's a worldwide, basis for government, basically, and basis for law to rule over the world and everybody alive. So it would cover everybody, and it's supposed to be an all-encompassing thing that would bring religions together and everything else. But at the crux of it, it would put a system in place almost like an Old Testament judges system, with Jewish judges over the whole world, basically.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few things here. Let's go to Revelation 2:9, please.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry. Let's not do that. Let's not do that yet. Let's do. Let's go to Genesis 10.
Let's do it.
Sorry about that, man.
No worries.
There's so much here, folks, that it's.
Right.
I'm excited to get into all of this. All right. So in Genesis 10, when people talk to you, we'll get into Genesis 10 in a moment. When people talk to you about being anti-Semitic or Semitic, a lot of people just go straight to Jew. Bronson, what about you? When you were growing up, if somebody said something about being Semitic or being anti-Semitic, what would you think?
I mean, to keep it a buck with you, man. I mean, this wasn't something I had even heard until, maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I'd never heard the word Semite, Semitic, anti-Semitic. And if I'd heard it, it passed over my head because I didn't know what it was. So in the past few years, when I'd heard it, it had always been in correlation strictly to who we would just call the Jews, just Jewish people, just Semitic, Semite, and always just Jewish people. Since my understanding of the word and using it in conversation and hearing it in conversation, picking up its meaning via context clues, I've always associated that word with just Jew, Jewish.
Most people do. I know that I did. But the thing is that's not what it is. And if somebody is an actual Jew from the tribe of Yehuda or Judah, whatever you want to call it, then they would be a Semite, yes. But what the true definition is that a Semite is a descendant of Sem or Shem, one of the sons of Noah that came off the ark. There we go. There's the definition of Semite. So I'm not making that up. That's what it is.
It's Google, man. Oxford Languages.
Yes. So that's what it is. It's a descendant of Shem. So anybody that's a descendant of Shem would be a Semite. So anybody that you would have a disagreement with or that bloodline or say anything bad about, that would be illegal now, supposedly. But that's not what it's for. It only applies to the Jews. But the funny thing about this is this. A large percentage of the Jewish population, especially in America, is what, Bronson? Ashkenazi Jews?
Yes.
Okay, well, we've talked about this before. Words mean things, okay? Semite means descendant from Shem. Okay, so if we go back to Genesis 10, Ashkenaz, yes. Oh, no.
That's all right.
Give us the juice.
Got the juice in my hand.
Yeah, man. Okay, so here in Genesis 10:1, we have the table of nations. Bronson, would you mind reading Genesis 10:1 for me when you get a moment?
No problem at all. Now, Genesis 10:1, and it says, "Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood."
Okay, so Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So
Yes.
from these, the Bible says this, from these the whole earth was repopulated, right? So
Right.
Semites are the descendants of Shem. So that is a large group of people. Let's just assume it's a third.
Right. I think that's safe.
You know what I mean? It may or may not be that now, but let's just assume there's three brothers. Say it's a third of the earth. It was broken up that way. If we could look in Jubilees at some point tonight and show the breakdown, and also the God culture. I've referenced it a few times, but the map he did on that was cool. We gave a good visual of where it was broken up, at least in Jubilees. Okay, so let's just assume it's a third of the earth. So it's not exclusively to the Jews. But we talked about Ashkenazi Jews, which, Ben Shapiro. Do you have a Ben Shapiro impersonation, Bronson? Can you squeak that high?
I wasn't ready for that. I should have practiced.
I don't know that I can squeak that high.
I may embarrass myself.
100% Ashkenazi Jew. So what he's telling you is he is not a Semite at all. By definition. A Semite would be somebody that was a descendant of Shem.
Right.
So let's go down here and read the descendants of Japheth, because this is where you find Ashkenaz.
Yes. So we're in the sons of Japheth. We have got Gomer and Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, and Meshesh, Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarma. But right here is where we are, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz.
All right. So just so sometimes words change and things change over time, and this is a long time ago. So let's go look up Ashkenaz. I think we had that up before. Can we pull that up just so we can show this? Now they come from Japheth, so I guess that would be a Japhethite. So Ashkenaz.
Yes. So we've got if you can read that, go for it. I'll let you know. All right. So just off the rip, Ashkenaz in the Hebrew Bible is one of the descendants of Noah. Ashkenaz is the first son of Gomer, Japhetic patriarch in the Table of Nations. If you're not familiar with Table of Nations, we were just reading from that. It's Genesis chapter 10. In rabbinic literature, the descendants of Ashkenaz were first associated with the Scythian cultures, then later with the Slavic territories, and from the 11th century onwards with Germany, Northern Europe, and the Indo-European people, in a manner similar to two words I don't know how to say, Sarfat and Sepharad. I don't know. His name is related to the Assyrian, the Scythians, who expelled the Gemiri from the Armenian highland of the upper Euphrates area. So just, that gives you a little bit of your geography and where some of these people come from.
All right, so right here under medieval, could you read that, sir?
I'd be happy to. All right, this is in the medieval reception, okay? The Karaite philologist David ben Abraham Alfasi, writing around the turn of the millennium, identified Ashkenaz as the ancestor of the Khazars. Excuse me, I did not mean to press on that.
Could you tell me what that guy's name is again?
Yeah, his name is David ben Abraham Alfasi.
Is that Presbyterian?
I don't know. It sounds Spanish to me. He was a medieval Jewish Moroccan lexicographer.
Oh, he's Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and he said that they descended from the Khazars.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can we pull up what sect he's from and what he argued for, just to give this guy a little validity?
Absolutely.
This guy was a part of a sect that only believed in the Tanakh, so that would be in the Torah. They did not believe in the oral law, the Midrash or the Talmud. Yeah, Karaite.
Yeah, so we got a Karaite Judaism. I got to be honest with you, this is relatively new knowledge for me. I mean, you hear about Messianic Jew, Rabbinic Jew, and all this. Oh, excuse me, but this is actually a new word for my vocabulary here. But
Yeah,
a
these are the
Karaite,
guys that we were told that the Jews were. They followed, the Old Testament, the Law and the Prophets. This is, more in line with what, the faith was
right?
without the oral tradition back in, the day of Moses and Caleb and Joshua and David. This is what they followed. So this is who we read about and the people we look up to and read their writings. This is what they follow. This is like the most pure sect without any kind of leaven.
Right. Good
which
word.
is what Jesus said the Pharisees taught, right? Leaven.
Yeah. And beware of that. Be aware of that is what Jesus said.
So this guy said that the Khazars were descendants of Ashkenaz, right?
Right.
So Khazars. I think we have a video on that.
We sure do.
Can we check this? All right, so check this video out, guys, and we'll be back.
The Jews, I call them Jews to you because they're known as Jews. I don't call them Jews. I refer to them as so-called Jews because I know what they are, and I can prove that. The Eastern European Jews, who form 92% of the world's population of those people who call themselves Jews, were originally Khazars. They were a warlike tribe that lived deep in the heart of Asia. And they were so warlike that even the Asiatics drove them out of Asia into Eastern Europe. And to reduce this, so you don't get too confused about the history of Eastern Europe, they set up this big Khazar kingdom, 800,000 square miles. Only there was no Russia, there were no other countries, and the Khazar kingdom was the biggest country in all Europe. So big and so powerful that when the other monarchs wanted to go to war, the Khazars would loan them 40,000 soldiers. That's how big and powerful they were. Now, they were phallic worshippers. It was their religion, the way it was the religion of many other pagans or barbarians elsewhere in the world. Now, the king became so disgusted with the degeneracy of his kingdom that he decided to adopt a so-called monotheistic faith, either Christianity, Islam, the Muslim faith, or what is known today as Judaism. Really
can we pause it there for a minute, Bronson?
Like,
now, when they're talking in this, that the king became so disgusted with it, there's conflicting stories on this.
Okay.
And I want to point this out. Where Khazaria is, the Silk Road ran across. And it may cover in this later. I can't remember. It may cover it. But the other story is that what happened is that the Khazarians kept robbing people coming through there. And they not only robbed them of their goods, what they would do is they would bring them in. This is the story, okay? They would bring them in, feed them, get to know who they were a little bit, then they would kill them, assume their identity, and then take the goods and assume the trade for that person. So what they would, and this is a well-known thing according to what I've heard, that they would do. So they would take the identity, and the surrounding countries, they just were getting fed up with it. But to compound that, it was said that these Khazars were Bel worshippers, and they believed in all the things that come with Bel worship: human sacrifice, temple prostitutes, and the whole type of thing.
Phallus worship.
Right. So that the surrounding countries, the Rus, which later became Russia, and several powers around there united and basically beat them down, I believe, in 1088 or something like that. That's not the exact year, but it's somewhere around there. And that they basically had beat them down to the point to where they got the king to submit, and they were tired of all the debauchery and the robbing and everything. So they said, basically, to keep your crown, you have to make your kingdom come under one of the Abrahamic faiths, because where they were at, you had, but anyways, you had to come under one of the Abrahamic faiths, which was Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, and they chose Judaism. So that was the story, is that they got beat in war and were forced to do that to stop all the theft and everything that supposedly continued afterwards. But there is another side of the story than that one part, and I always try to give the full story and a couple of the other opinions, because when you're dealing with history, the winner is always write the story. And,
Right.
And if there's another side of the story, it's at least worth hearing. So if you hear later context, you can kind of put two and two together to figure out which one's more likely.
Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out. Real quick, I mean, you never know what you don't know, and you take for granted what you do know. So just real quick, just a small explanation of the Silk Road, and kind of who were these people that they were attacking and stealing their identities of?
It could be anybody from the east of them, but the Silk Road ran all the way from China to Europe.
Yeah,
And
it's a trading.
It's a trading route. It's the biggest trading route. The very, very lucrative, and it brought all kinds of spices and obviously silk, rice, salt. Pearls from the Philippines. I mean, it was everything.
From my understanding,
it was the Amazon of its day. It'd take a lot longer, but it was the Amazon of its day. If you needed something, you would have to, get it from a trader or merchant on the Silk Road. So the Silk Road, I believe, had split and had two different routes, if I remember right. So I'm not an expert on the Silk Road. This is just what I know. And they both ran through Khazaria.
Right.
So no matter what, you had to go through there.
It went up so far that from what I understand, this is like we always, a stereotype of the English people is they like their tea and stuff. From what I understand, this is when the English people really started to get into their black tea and get into the tea, was from the Silk Road. So just giving a little bit of understanding on just how long this trade route ran from Asia all the way on up to even parts of England. This, like you said, is the Amazon of their day. That's a really good way of saying that. So I just wanted to cover that this was a heavily populated a trading route. It ran through, like you said, Khazaria, and then not really allegedly. It can be Googled, but really the point of this video today is to get into this law that was passed and the importance behind it. So we're kind of limited to all the things we want to get into.
Well,
but when people would come through this trading route, these Khazarians would, like he said, feed them, take care of them, house them, lodging like an inn. And then, get to know them, get to know their identity and family, where they're taking their goods, et cetera, murder them, assume their identity, take the goods where they were supposed to go, because there was no business cards, there was no profile picture for anybody, no thumbprint reader, and they'd take this goods up to where it was supposed to go, and they'd sell it. And it was, like Austin said, an incredibly lucrative business at the time. So sorry to cut you off, but
they supposedly did this for years. Well, I've heard this said for years. You'll know who your masters are by who you can't criticize.
Right.
Okay. Well, get to know the masters. Go ahead, sir.
Spinning a top, he said, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo," and he picked out so-called Judaism. And he opened up synagogues and schools in his kingdom of 800,000 square miles, and maybe 10 to 20 million people, and they became what we call Jews. There wasn't one of them that ever had an ancestor that ever put a toe in the Holy Land, not alone in Old Testament history, but back to time, the beginning of time. Not one of them. That is the foundation of all the misery that has befallen the world.
the whole thing, the whole Greater Israel plan, it operates on two essential things. It's to survive, Israel must become the imperial regional power, and it must affect the division of the entire area around it into smaller states. They stir up sectarian hatred. They divide the whole place into smaller states, and then all these smaller states are fighting each other, and so that kind of legitimizes Israel's existence, because it appears to be the only stable force in the area when it's the one who's gone and destabilized the whole thing. And what Chris said about the two stripes on the flag, this is exactly right, the Nile and the Euphrates. This is the plan for Greater Israel. And it includes Syria, it includes Jordan, it includes the top of Saudi Arabia, half of Iraq, parts of Lebanon. This has been the plan for the whole time, and this is why they've gone in there and done things the way they have. It's all part of the Greater Israel Project. And even there was another document that was called Israel's Sacred Terrorism. It was written by a man called Livia Rakash. And it's based on the memoirs of Moshe Sharett, former Prime Minister of Israel. And it basically outlines the 1978 invasion of Lebanon to a T. It's exactly what they did, and it's kind of a smaller, condensed version of this Yinon plan. And the Yinon plan was also outlined by, way back as far as Theodore Herzl. I mean, this has been going on for a long time.
This scenario is borne out by none other than Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, one of the great founders of Israel. Recorded in an astonishing article in Look magazine, Ben-Gurion predicted that a one-world system presided over by Jerusalem will be set up in the near future. All continents will become united in a world alliance, at whose disposal will be an international police force. All armies will be abolished, and there will be no more war. In Jerusalem, the United Nations, a truly United Nations, will build a shrine of the prophets to serve the federated union of all continents. This will be the seat of the Supreme Court of mankind, to settle all controversies among the federated continents, as prophesied by Isaiah.
What we're dealing with here, like when you look at the whole Khazar Empire, that's who these people are. They're Khazar. Traded into Islam. Infiltrated into everything. This is where you've got Christian Zionists, you've got Jewish Zionists, you've got this whole sort of mottled empire that's sort of all over the world. It's infiltrated everywhere. And they're using basically what's outlined, the supremacist ideology that's outlined in the Jewish faith. They're using this to construct their New World Order. And these people believe they're the chosen people. These Khazars are more zealous about following these ideologies than the actual Jews are, but none of them actually believe in God. They're creating this whole tense situation everywhere to break everything up, to collapse everything, collapse all the economies, collapse Europe, collapse Russia, collapse everything, and create this empire of chaos with this one bastion of control in the middle, which will be Greater Israel. That's the plan. But it's run by the Khazars. And I would suggest that even the British royal family are probably related to these Khazars in some way. I mean, it all seems to go back to this empire. All the research that I've done over the years, going back through Hebrew lines and going back looking at what happened in Egypt and so many things, this Khazar history is the most hidden history and the most repressed history anywhere. It's all about merging all of the races on the planet together. This is why we've got such an infiltration of foreign races into Europe at the moment, which is all being run by Jewish advisors to all of these countries. And it's weird. You say to stuff, you're blaming the Jews for everything, you're anti-Semitic. Well, hang on, I'm just looking at the situation, and you look and you go, well, these people, they just happen to all be Jews. Is this a coincidence? And then you look at the Greater Israel plan, and you look at the whole doctrine of the Jews as God's chosen and the Goyim, and you say, well, here it all is. Sisi, he's serving British and Israeli interests like to a T. He's doing just as bad, even more damage to Gaza than Israel, because these are Arab brothers. These should be supporting these people. And he's closed all the borders off, like you say, he's bulldozed all those homes. He's even thinking of digging a moat, as I was saying before, along the, so they can't possibly dig any tunnels because they'd have the weight of water above them. There's no way they'd be able to do any smugglers' tunnels. Like I said, they're turning Gaza into a super maximum prison. It's being done right in front of the rest of the world. So Sisi is absolutely serving their interests. But I mean, Bashar Assad, I mean, I don't think he was installed. I think he was kind of a reluctant leader. He came to power and didn't really want to have the position that he's got. And his country has been devastated because he wouldn't bow to the Zionist control system. I mean, this whole ISIS thing, I mean, ISIS is sprung out of nowhere, exactly when Israel needed it. It's paved the way for Western intervention to go and carpet bomb the whole Arab world. So, I mean, who's controlling this? They're saying they're Muslim extremists. They're not Muslim extremists at all. They're killing Muslim people. They're killing women and children, all of these things that are banned by the Quran. They say if you do this, then you go to hell for all eternity. So obviously they're not religious extremists. They're just extremists. I mean, I would suggest that ISIS probably stands for Israeli Secret Intelligence Services. It's just a new boogeyman because bin Laden had run out of steam, Al-Qaeda had run out of steam. But ultimately, it's all a product of the West anyway. These are the same people that they had in Libya, the same people in Syria.
Follow the leads, put the troops in, and play this. Look, ISIS got started through funding from our friends and allies.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Wow. That's that.
You won't believe how old she is.
Excuse me? I asked.
How old do you think she is, Bronson? Just to give some background on the Khazars a little bit, but So when they say that they're Ashkenazi Jew, they are not, regardless of which parts of the story true or made up, or oh, it's just some anti-Semite propaganda. Okay, well, we've covered Semites, so these people aren't Semites. You got to break the conditioning. You got to break the programming. You got to break what you've been taught. You saw all the people that were in control of the media. It's spun. It's spun that way. The only reason you see stupid Palestinian protesters is because they point out stupid Palestinian protesters. They point out, they show you what they want you to see.
Right.
Do you remember a few years ago? It was in Iraq. They had this bomb go off. I believe it was in 2016. It was right around the time of the first Trump presidential election. They had a car bomb to go off. In the video, this guy drives up in the car, pulls up, gets out, gets in another car, drives off. Car blows up. There's nobody else around. After the car blows up, like 16 or 17 people run in, fall on the ground. All of a sudden, act like, yeah, dude. And then they broadcasted all over the news that it was car bomb, 4 people dead, 17 people. Nobody died. There happened to be a closed circuit television or a closed circuit camera on the building across the street, picked it all up, and they leaked it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all made up.
That's hilarious.
Think back to the Ukrainian war. They were showing all those bodies in body bags. You remember that body bag flew up, that dude reached up, grabbed it, and pulled it back down?
Yeah.
Supposed to be dead. Yeah, dude, like, don't believe what they show you. And by they, I mean the media all encompassing.
Right.
Like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Yes, Fox News. Don't believe Fox News. Don't believe any of it. It's all propaganda. You see who owns all of these companies.
Right.
It's all the same people. It's all the same team. It's
Right.
all the same team. The goal is world domination. And this law today, everybody was under the illusion that Israel's like a vassal state of the United States, and it just does what it wants to do. It pumps this money in here to, fund their operations in the Middle East. Some of that may be true, but with this law today, you see who the real power is.
Right.
The real power is in the finance giants and in the Rothschilds and the people that run Israel. They're the ones that, you can look this up, go all the way back to Napoleon, fund both sides of every war.
Right.
The war machine, people talk about the military-industrial complex. It's become more, it's like mainstream to understand that now. They are the military-industrial complex. They're the money that funds all of that. Where they talk about, we're in so much debt. Well, it's to China. Well, it's this, what? All the debt. Where does the debt go? Who owes everybody? Who gets owed at the very end? Who's the guy where the buck stops? Who is it? Any guesses?
Yeah. It's illegal to say that now. You can't say that no more.
It's the Rothschilds.
Crazy, bro.
It's the Rothschilds, and they, the land that the Supreme Court you saw in the end of that video,
right,
donated by the Rothschilds.
Yeah, it's not on the channel that this is going on, but I'll probably move it over. Where I did a video about a year ago or so where I go really in detail on the Belfort Agreement and what that means, and that happened, and all that funding comes from that family, dude. And it's it's crazy. It's crazy. But
I'll tell you what it makes me do. It makes me wonder about Pearl Harbor.
Oh yeah.
That was the agreement, and that's what got us into the war. You have to wonder.
Yeah, that's it's a safe thing to question, man. I mean, at this point in the game, it's not to be weird, and there has to be a foundation of truth. You can't float around and be a weed shaking in the wind. But it's I mean, you gotta question all that stuff, bro.
Well, so let me ask you something. Would you say that if they were not Jews, like from the tribe of Judah, were saying that they were Jews, wouldn't that be Jews who are not Jews?
Say it again.
Saying they're Jews. Could we go pull up Revelation 2:9, please?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, let's get back to what it says in the Bible. I can say whatever I want to say. People on videos can say what they want to say. We saw what the law was. That's in black and white. You can see that. There's a reason people are upset on both sides of the aisle. The people are. The politicians are fine. The AIPAC checks are going to keep flowing. So, oh, they're not for the Congressman. I think it was only 21 Republicans. No Democrats voted against it. Only 21 Republicans said no to this crap. And Bronson heard it for the first time before we went live. He he said, "Who the hell came up with this bill?
Who wrote this, bro? Like, who's the guy that put the pen to the paper on this one? Because it's nonsensical, man. I mean,
Mr. Kazar.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Kazar wrote it. Let's check out Revelation 2:9.
2. Sorry, I'm in 3. It's my fault. 2:9. For a little context, I'll go back 1 verse to 8. And unto the angel of the church of Smyrna write. You can see my screen, correct?
Hmm?
Okay. Unto the angel of the church of Smyrna write. These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. That'd be Christ. 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Well, since you were in 3 anyways, let's check out 3:9. What does 3:9 say?
Let's do it.
Revelation 3:9.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, to know that I have loved thee.
Yep. Those are the Jews or not. That's what we're dealing with today. This is the financial power and the media power and the law. And, look at all the corrupt judges. Look how, easily George Soros flows his money through our judicial system.
Right.
It's I don't even know what to say, man. It's pretty blatantly obvious to me.
Blatantly obvious, man. It's something that we've been. I mean, it's not like we've been harping on it, but for some of us, bro, this has been something we've been kind of trying to hint at for a while. You know what I mean? For a few years now, and it's to the point, like what I said earlier. Like when you read that law, when you go through that 6090, it's hard not to get irritated because for a few reasons. I mean, one is a little more, I guess, on the selfish side, where it's like, I hate to say I told you so. We've only been saying this for 10 years, or maybe closer to 8 or so. And then the other side is just like, it's so sad because that and I hate to say it, but that man, most Christians, my people, Christians, bro, are going to bend over backwards to serve them, to send them more money they don't care, bro.
They keep wanting to say Judeo-Christians. Stop that.
Stop
There's
that.
No Judeo. It's just
not
Christian.
a thing. Right. It's not a thing.
It's not a thing. It's 2 different religions. One worships the true God and one is denied the Messiah. So, all right.
Killed him.
Let's just preface all of this by saying, look, there's plenty of good Jews. There's plenty of Jews that have come out against this and have showed a lot of light on the cabal and have pointed out a lot of things, especially what they believe about us, which we're called goyim, we're cattle. Right. Anybody, and this is white, black, brown, anybody that's not them is basically trash.
Right.
And there's a lot of good Jews out there, so I don't want to say it's not all the Jews, but there's this cabal, and they stick together, and they have all their people, and they're not really Jews.
Right.
They worship Baal. They worship money. A lot of them are claiming to be secular, but look at all the messaging you get in your program. You think just every singer that suddenly makes it and has a hit song comes on stage as the Grammy dressed as a demon for nothing? This is who they worship. They worship the Dark Lord, so they try to project that dark energy however they can, and they try to manipulate and they do terrible things. And I hate to say it, but like a lot of the debaucherous stuff you see comes out of the Talmud. You have pedophilia, saying it's okay to rape kids under 9. You have it's a lot of disgusting stuff, man, that's in there. I mean, in New York, there was outbreak of herpes in the Jewish community because when they circumcised the baby, they sucked the blood out of the penis with their mouth. And this rabbi had herpes and was given to all these babies. I mean, and that's in the paper. You can go look at it for yourself. This is made up stuff. What you got there? Anything interesting?
I'm just showing what they think about you and me and everybody else, the cattle of the world, and how even the best of snakes should have their heads crushed, just like the best of Gentiles should be killed.
Yeah, it's a lot of lovely stuff like that. But let's talk about what they believe about our Lord and Savior. Let's say that, because
let me find that.
They always, the media, and ever since 9/11, which I believe Mossad and Israel had a lot to do with 9/11, and we can get into that later if you want, but this is what I believe. And you can feel however you want with it. You can feel like a bunch of people from a cave in Afghanistan came over here and hijacked the plane, flew it into the tower, and magically their passport, out of all that fire and flame that was magically able to melt still, floated down to the ground. The FBI found it and all the rubble perfectly, and it all fit together and went straight to a CIA asset, Osama bin Laden in a cave in Afghanistan. Then somehow it was Iraq's fault 2 years later. So if that's what you want to believe, you go ahead. I'm going to live in reality. That's not, even if it isn't Mossad, which I'm about 90% on, they had something to do with it.
At this point in the game, bro, I mean, it's 2024. If you still buying the narrative that was presented in 2001, bro, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just don't know what to tell you.
Let me just ask you, what is 1 + 1?
That would be 2.
How many planes were there on 9/11?
2.
Okay, so Twin Towers would imply 2, right?
Right.
So the Twin Towers got hit. 1 plane, 1 tower, 1 plane, 1 tower, right?
Right.
So explain to me how, if 1 + 1 = 2, that 2 planes took out 3 towers that day.
The whole day.
If you're sitting at home wondering, and I don't think most people are. Most people that have half a brain know this, but not to offend anybody, but there's Building 7. If you don't know about it, go look it up. Look up Larry Silverstein, who got rich off of the towers. It just happened to get a way more insurance money than what he was supposed to when he went into it. And it was later quoted saying it was a good thing for the family. Yeah, because he like 4x his net worth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And what's the number? Was it $1 billion or $1 trillion that had gone missing from the Federal Reserve?
It was $2 trillion.
Excuse me. It's a day before.
Donald Rumsfeld came up and was talking about it, and then all of a sudden this happened. And there was like gold that was in the bottom of that, I think, that went missing. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. But there was Israeli art students that were working on certain project, and really it was undercover Mossad, and they were here covering the event. There's all kinds of stuff. Like anybody can find this. You just go look it up, get on X, look stuff. Everybody knows the 9/11 Commission was garbage. I don't care what Jeremy Bourne or any of the Israeli wire thinks. They can say whatever they want. Ben Shapiro kissed the whitest part of my butt.
The most goyim section of my ass, bro.
The most, exactly. Yeah, right there, that big old cattle cheek.
Oh,
yeah, baby. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is back to what my original thought. The 9/11, ever since then, we've been pushed and pushed and pushed Islam against Christianity and America and Israel versus terror, whatever nation terror is. I don't know is there a nation called terror? Because we've been at war with them since then.
All right.
Okay. It's really just to terrorize the taxpayer and funnel more of our money into causes to fight battles for Israel. What do we get out of taking out Iraq's army? Nothing. What do we get for any of this? Nothing. Who it made the whole region softened up and Israel would just roll through it. Besides Iran. Iran's the only one. Everything else has been softened up and beat to death. Saudi Arabia came out today and said that, hey, we're going to make it illegal and we'll arrest you if you say anything bad about Benjamin Netanyahu or Israel in Saudi Arabia. So mission accomplished for the most part. The last holdout is Iran, the worldwide funder of terrorism. I'm sure they fund some to fight back against Israel, but I mean, who's the real terrorist? I mean, who's the one that's, bombing the hell out of, people that are actually more genetically related to the tribe of Judah than they are in Gaza? Some of the oldest Christian churches in the world in Gaza. After we already took out, was it General Wesley Clark that talked about the 7 nations in 5 years?
That rings a bell. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Man, if we could pull that up, let's just show that so we can get a good understanding. And in this interview, he goes, why? Why are we doing this? I don't know. We're just doing it. There are a lot of things that happen in this country. It's like, oh, I don't know. We're just doing it.
Right.
But so it's like, well, this is horrible for us. Why are we doing this? It's because it's not our interests that matter.
Right.
You don't understand. The people that you see that are your politicians, they're just taking orders, just like everybody else. They're taking orders from the people that have the money, the people that control the ebb and flow of the market, the people that control the price of gold, the people that control your interest rates. So, yeah, the money talks. Everything else walks. We know how this goes.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, can we pull up that clip? Let's show that video, bro.
Sure. Yeah, let me see if I can.
Yeah, let's show that video just so they can see how he was talking about this. And I'm not an expert on Wesley Clark, but I've seen a few videos of him. He seems like an intelligent man and an honorable man. I don't have a reason not to believe him. But let's listen to what he has to say. And this is way back. And let's see if this seems like goals that our country is trying to accomplish. And think to yourself, why would they do this?
Right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw, right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld, and one of the generals called me and he said, sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second. He says, we've made the decision, we're going to war with Iraq. I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs. This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. About 10 days after 9/11.
It's horrible, bro.
So if you follow that list, and Syria's been pretty well bombed out, and it's really only Iran left.
Right.
That time. That hasn't been fallen and taken over and turned into an ash heap. I mean, Libya was doing pretty good under Gaddafi. A lot of people will say they're super good under Gaddafi. Some people say not so good, but way better than they are now. Regardless, that's undisputed. Isn't Libya like the sex slavery capital of the world now? There's all kinds of craziness going on. It's terrible, and we're the ones that did that. Just so you know, they'll try to say Islamic extremists. This is getting back to my original point. I didn't mean to get sidetracked in 9/11 and all that, but it has a lot to do with this. We ended up taking out all these people for them, lost thousands of soldiers, lost trillions of dollars. Like, they stole the inheritance of my children and everybody's children and grandchildren, and everything else. These Khazarians did. They are the ones that fund this. They did this to us. And the people want to still sit here like a drooling retard and talk about they're our greatest ally. When did they done anything for us?
Right.
What did they do for us? They haven't done anything. I've seen, in my opinion, they've done nothing but murder Americans in 9/11 and the Liberty situation, which we haven't even talked about yet. So I'm going to get on that yet. We can talk about that in a minute. My original point was they do this between Islam and basically Christian nations in the West. But what does Islam believe about Jesus? Do you know, Bronson?
To the top of my head is that he was a very good prophet, good man, but not Messiah, correct?
Yes. They also believe that he did not die on the cross, but they believe that he ascended into heaven. Okay? So it's not, in our opinion, it's not our belief, so we don't believe it's correct. But we believe Jesus died on the cross, was buried, resurrected on the third day. We believe all that.
So would it be safe to say, and this is kind of off script, so I'm sorry, is this safe to say that they kind of view him in a similar light to what we would view Elijah, someone who ascended?
It feels like that, yeah. It feels like I'm not a Muslim. I'm not from the Middle East, so I don't understand their full mindset. Yeah. No, I'm just trying to be fair to them. I think the American media has been unfair enough.
That's fair.
And I mean, there's things about Islam that I definitely don't like at all. There's things about Palestine and Gaza I don't like at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pro Hamas. Okay. I'm just talking about who we're supposed to be our greatest ally. Okay. So Islam believes that Jesus was the greatest of prophets, I believe is what they call him, and that he ascended to heaven and didn't die on the cross, but he ascended to heaven. Okay. So Christianity believes that Jesus died on the cross, was buried, resurrected on the third day, and sits to the right hand of the Father, right?
Right.
Rabbinic Judaism believes that Jesus is in hell, boiling in a vat of poop and semen. Okay? This is our greatest ally of our Christian nation, is the people that believe that and use Jesus' name as a cuss word. And we're fighting the people that, while we disagree with them, and there's things, especially Sharia law and stuff, that I don't agree with, but people that at least believe Jesus was a great prophet and ascended into heaven and has respect for him. Instead, we're bombing these countries to soften them up for the ones that believe Jesus is boiling in poop and semen in hell. Something's not adding up here.
This is not your friend, bro. As a Christian, these are not your friends, man. These are they're not.
They're not our friends. They're not our allies. They've done nothing but rob us of at least $300 billion, technology for military and for spying and surveillance. I'm sure they got a lot of their nuclear technology from us. I mean, we've made these Khazarians a nuclear superpower in the Middle East with aspirations of world dominance, and nobody sees it. And if you speak up, you're some kind of hateful bigot. I'm sorry, dude. It's time to stop capitulating and speak the hell up about this. Because
how many vets have you seen come?
We've literally given these people that have been killing people and stealing their identities, allegedly, for thousands of years. We've given them nuclear weapons and technology and anti rocket, ground to air, anti-air rocket technology, anti-aircraft technology, mortars. I mean, we've given them $300 billion, and they just sent them more. And now they signed a bill into law. You can't even criticize it, or you're breaking the law. Yeah, it is ridiculous.
It's sad.
And the fact that a lot of people in our faith want to sit there and defend it and say things like glass Gaza and do this and do that. You just want to push for more of this, and then some of them cheer on building the third temple. For what? Where does that fit in?
Right.
Like, where does Jesus say that, yeah, build another temple? What did he say? He says the body's the temple. He wants you to come live in you, the Holy Spirit. Well, clearly, these people in the third temple don't have the Holy Spirit living in them.
Right.
Because nothing's bothering them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you read all that stuff earlier, were you not bothered? I mean, I'm bothered.
Yes,
you know,
dude. Yeah. It's
what I'm watching, I mean, I'm sorry. You know, honestly, I if at best on October 2nd, Israel allowed that attack. At best. At worst, it was them dressed up in middle mosque gear, flying in on paragliders, killing their own people.
Right.
You know.
Right. It's
so suppose how many people died that day?
I don't know.
I think it was like 1,100, 1,400, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'll find something. Excuse me. You can't see my screen, can you?
I can see you.
All right. Let me fix that. There we go.
How many people died on?
34,535 people. There's so many people, bro. More than seven.
No. On October 7th. Just that
7. Oh, excuse me. I put.
Yeah, I'm not saying, bro. Ain't no way.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, that's so.
Ain't no way, man. Yeah.
But that's so many people. Excuse me. There we go. That's a little more likely.
Yeah,
like,
1,100, 1,200 people. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wrong October attack.
That's a lot of people to die, man, but multiply that by 40 and you get how many Palestinians that we know have been killed.
Right.
Since then. And most of them just civilians. And
well, bro, even
all kinds of stuff.
How many American soldiers, bro? The PTSD, the depression is as horrible as that stuff is. That's just the tip of the iceberg, man.
I've been compiling things, Bronson, for us to do a show for soldiers, just to show what the U.S. military really thinks about them. And I was talking to Mom earlier. She was telling me you need to be more uplifting. I'm like, I would be, but I mean, I could try to be uplifting and give some kind of Joel Osteen speech, or I could just be honest with people, like. Your creature comforts and everything, that's great. You know, enjoy your family, do what you're supposed to do. Heck, I'm enjoying talking to you. I'm enjoying my dog. It's good to do, but you got to realize that we're in chains. We've been in chains for a long time. We're in debt slavery. Go back to the speech that JFK gave about secret societies and how we're fighting against something that works with covet means and all that. Listen to it and look at our situation and start analyzing the people that are running this Khazarian mafia, which is what we're going to call them, because they're not Jews. We're going to call them Khazarian mafia because that's what they are. And it doesn't encompass everybody that's of the Judaic faith or people that even identify as Jews or Ashkenazi Jews, even for that matter. It doesn't encompass all of them. It's the Khazarian mafia. So that's a more accurate term, I believe. What about you, Bros? Do you think that's more fair? I believe that's a more fair term.
It is fair because it comes from so much confusion, man. It's so hard to even have this conversation. Let me slow down, dude. My nerves are I'm in a tizzy. It's hard to have this conversation with somebody because you can't even. The dialogue is so twisted, bro, that you have to do this video every single time you have a conversation with somebody, and it makes it so difficult, man. You can't say anything. Sorry, no, you're cool. Go ahead.
No, finish your thoughts, sir. I'm sorry.
And no, it's just you can't use the word Jew without people thinking, well, Jesus was a Jew. Well, Paul was a Jew. Well, these people are God's chosen people. This is Mount Sinai and Moses, and we came out of Egypt and all, like as if the Egyptians didn't come out of Egypt with them. You know what I'm saying? It's so tricky. I won't say any names.
Some Egyptians did. Remember all the things about the stranger among you?
Yeah, the sojourner among you. Yeah, exactly.
There was always room to worship the Most High amongst all peoples, whether they just weren't given the law.
Right.
the bloodline had to come through there. That's why there's so much about not,
Mingling.
having kids with or marrying into the other tribes, is because we had to keep the bloodline pure through all those weird Ike bloodlines there in Genesis.
Right.
For the delivery system for Messiah, because going back to what we talked about with the serpent war, you have to have that come through to fulfill that prophecy, and so we have redemption.
Right. It's confusing on purpose. The rabbit hole is deep on purpose. This can't be a 10-minute video on purpose, man. These things are hidden. Before we even started recording, we were looking at you were looking at a family tree, and it's like, why is it so conveniently hard to find some of this stuff, bro?
And a lot of it, and if you like, one of them said that Ashkenaz's kids were like his brothers, and that's completely wrong. The best thing to always do is to reference the Bible, especially when talking about this. And even if there's somebody out there who's not Christian, that's fine, but you have to understand when you're dealing with Jerusalem, you're in that world, okay?
You're dealing with that, bro. You're
kind of in that. I have a friend of mine that's not religious, and we talk about this, and he's far more anti-Israel than I am, but he's way on the far left side. But he's we're talking, but he's asking me questions. He's like, what about this and this and this? And he's like digging into the Bible and kind of like looking for answers and stuff. Because he understands, like, dude, because we talked about the person who's just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. You're referencing the Bible verses, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, dude, well, that's the world you're in when you're over there. It's over here, we're in the secular world. And
this is a historical text.
Yeah, the Abrahamic faiths are everything, even in the Muslim world, you have a lot of Catholic churches,
True.
But, so this is the kind of world you're living in. It is a biblical world.
Right. But there's a lot of historical validity there, man, and it has to be brought into place. If not, who are you gonna go to? If you ain't gonna go to the Bible to get some of this information, what are you about to do? You're gonna go to Fox News? You're gonna go to CNBC? I mean, we just saw who owns all that, bro. It's a skewed and biased viewpoint and opinion. It's funded by the you-know-whos. Where are you supposed to? Facebook? We saw who owns that too.
There's the Khazarian Mafia. Have you ever looked at like George Bush's face next to King Charles's face?
I've seen the memes. Yeah,
that's the Khazarian face.
Yeah. See, bro. Real quick, you had mentioned this. Oh, I am screen sharing. I didn't mean to. Okay, let me do that real quick. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this too, bro. I'll let you go ahead with what you want to say, but I got something I want you to look up here in a minute.
Yeah, you'd reference this, and it's so worth listening to. Just for a second.
Repugnant in a free and open society.
Excuse me. Hold on.
And we are as a people.
Let me back that up.
He imposes upon our society two requirements of direct concern, both to the press and to the president. Two requirements that may seem almost contradictory in tone, but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for far greater public information.
Sounds good.
And second, to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
What a bar. What a bar. Facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. I mean, it's almost like whoever wrote this new law that's in place had never heard this before, or just.
Oh, bro, the best part's still ahead. It basically describes. Yeah, keep it rolling, man. If people haven't seen that, you got to watch that, man.
I'll bring that back up.
Yeah, that's the. It talks about these people operate under covet means and how they operate, and just it's how they operate. It's all secrecy. It's all guerrillas by night instead of armies by day type of thing, you know? I believe that's his quote.
Here we go.
Dead. It is true that my predecessor did not object, as I do, to pictures of one repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger. And yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Let me ask you something. Is 50 greater than 6?
Yes.
I was just curious about that. You tell me which one's the real Holocaust. Anyway.
What, man? They shot that guy, by the way.
Yeah. In my opinion, one of the first chinks in our armor was in 1913 on Jekyll Island when the Federal Reserve was signed and came up with and hatched on Jekyll Island. We were fully taken over in 1963. When Kennedy was shot, we were taken over by basically the CIA and the Mossad.
Right.
Working together as, what George Herbert Walker Bush said, for their new world order.
Right.
Okay.
Clip 2. Keep going. I'm going to find that clip 2.
Well, I tell you what, man. Before you do that, could you pull up the quote on what John Kennedy wanted to do to the CIA?
Yeah. Give me 1 second here. Let's just. Oh, whoops. And if I'm not mistaken, John is the one that died in battle, right? Or am I wrong on that?
What?
Which is the one that died in war? He was meant to be, like, everybody was pushing him up to be the president. They all thought he was going to be the president, and he died in a battle overseas, right? And then it ended up being John F. Kennedy that took it instead of his brother.
Yeah, that sounds familiar now, man.
Yeah. Here we go. That's the quote you're looking for?
Yep.
I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. They shot that guy.
They scattered his brains into the winds.
Ooh.
Boom. There you go. And then ever since then, it's been control. They've had all control. They've had control over the president. The president really hasn't had any power. The only president even pushed back a little bit was Trump. And you see what's going on with him right now. It's pretty obvious how everything changed and became president. The knives came out and everything else is because he didn't want to do what they wanted to do by about that much. That's all it took.
Right.
All it took. Look at all the indictments. Look at all the reading and screaming. Look at how the dude was portrayed.
This is what happens, man. I mean, it don't matter, character.
I'm not Mr. ultra pro Trump either. I'm a vote for him. I'll be honest with you, but he's way pro Israel. Didn't pardon Julian Assange. The handling of COVID was horrific. I acknowledge all that type of stuff, so don't get on me. Oh, MAGA colored glasses. I acknowledge the wrong things. Believe me.
Right. Absolutely. Here's Mr. Bush Senior.
Also, just so you guys understand, before he was, Reagan's vice president, he was the director of the CIA.
I'll Google that too and prove that too. So it's
I believe he's the only one that's ever been director of the CIA and president of the United States.
Crazy. I think you're right. I don't know if there's anybody else that's done that either.
Of its founders.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Is that not what we've done?
Certain that we
Have we not been this peacekeeping role? Every battle, every war, have we not been there, bro? Have we not been?
It doesn't seem like there's been a lot of peace.
Right.
Let's address a couple of things, because we're going to hear, well, aren't they the chosen people?
Oh man, am I so
And
sorry?
let's address the 1948 situation too. Can a nation be born in a day? Well,
Right.
let's see if this is the nation it's talking about, and let's see if they're God's chosen people. Let's see what this really says. Let's look at it in a biblical sense, since this is what I wish we would have done this at first, just so we could have got it out of the way. But let's just address these, because that's something everybody's going to want to see, and
Right.
everybody's going to say, well, let's address it. Let's go to where God's talking to Abraham,
Okay.
because this is what it comes down to. And is there gateways in heaven for all 12 tribes of Israel? Everybody always wants to say Jews, but Israel's 12 tribes.
Right.
And we are the Israel of God right now. We're the wild olive branch that was grafted in.
Anti-Semitic.
Yeah. And anti-Semitic. Jesus.
I've got Isaiah 66 pulled up for the who had heard such a thing as this, can a nation be born in a day? When you said God talking to Abraham, what are you referring to?
Well, now let's pull up that verse. There's some caveats for that.
Yeah.
And by caveats, I mean there's descriptors of this place and what it will be like.
Right. Let me get my screen share up. All right, let's go down to verse 8. We'll read that first. Actually, let me go up. It's even better. It's just you got to just give it full context. Let me zoom this in so everybody, like what you said, so the people in the back can see. Isaiah 66 is the last chapter of Isaiah. It's super duper powerful. Starting in verse 5, hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. That would be us and other people that care. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that rendereth a recompense unto his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, saith the Lord? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy God? Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her. That ye may suck and be satisfied with the breasts of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, ye shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem. When ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of the Lord shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
All right, hold on 1 second now.
Go ahead.
So when does God come with a flaming sword?
That would be at the end.
Right. Now, what else does it say about that place? It says peace flows from it like a river.
Yeah.
Right?
6612 is highlighted on the screen for those of you watching.
Okay. So, has Jesus come back yet? The biggest one.
No.
No.
If he has, we're all doomed.
But just in a physical, everyday sense, when, since the creation of this modern day state of Israel, has peace flowed from that place like a river?
Never.
If you're trying to tell me the 1948 Israel is the fulfillment of this prophecy, you are crazy. You are out of your mind. And you don't know how to read. Or you haven't read. It's right here. This is not the place it's talking about at all. So all of your weirdo, sorry, it just gets away with me because people can't read. It's like the people with the dietary laws when it tells you the prophecy, it tells you what it means. Like in the next verse, it tells you what it means. But people just see what they want to see, and they've been told by these loser pastors for generations now, because it was happening when I was a kid, that that's what this verse is about. It's 1948 Israel. No, it's not at all.
Not at all.
So case closed on that one. So let's go to where God is talking to Abraham about his future generations. God's promise to Abraham.
Okay, this is I will multiply thy seed like the sands of the sea and the stars in the sky.
Yes, and when he's telling them that they will bless you, whoever blesses you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed. Let's see if he's talking about Israel or the Jews. So let's put it to you this way. Jews would be supposedly of the tribe of Judah. Okay, one of the 12 tribes of Israel, which of none existed at this point. This section is God having a conversation with Abraham about Abraham. It's talking about whoever blesses Abraham will be blessed, and whoever curses Abraham will be cursed. Has nothing to do with them being God's chosen people. They were the chosen people to deliver the law and the delivery system for the Messiah, to deliver it to the whole world, that not one soul should be saved. That was the purpose. And then when he sent his prophets to try and correct them, God did everything he could with these people. Finally, he sent his son. Some people accepted him, some people didn't. The religious leaders, the rabbis of the day, despised him and had him put to death. And I know that's illegal now. And I know some people say, well, the Romans did it. Well, yeah, the Romans did it, and they gave every chance to the Jews to not do it, and the Jews pushed for this to happen. So let's go to, if we could, where are we at now, sir?
Sorry, I'd gone to the wrong place. We are in Genesis 12.
Okay, let's see this part about Abraham, and then, let's do this part about Abraham real quick.
Sure. The meat and potatoes of what you're getting at here is in Genesis 12, verse 2 and 3. I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
So is that all families of the earth be blessed? And he was talking to Abraham. Whoever blesses him will be blessed.
Yes. Yes, and I would extend. I would really.
It doesn't say all families of the earth shall bless your family, right? It says they shall bless the families of the earth, and they were blessed because it was the delivery system for Messiah.
Right.
All of us who the rabbinic Jews call, let's call it the Khazarian Mafia, because not all over Khazarian Mafia.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, they call the goyim. I mean, honestly, all the Jews do. To be honest with you, anybody that's in the rabbinic system does. We're commonly called goy, cattle, or like the scum of the earth.
Right.
And Islam is not aside from that either. They have a word for it too, including they would tax us if they were in control because we're Christian. So I'm not trying to paint Islam with gold-colored glasses here, but they're all, when you break it down, the actual religions are much closer than us than the Talmudic Jews are. I would say it's not even close.
Not even close. The Talmudic Jews are closer to who Elijah was going up against in the time of Jezebel.
Oh, absolutely.
Much closer. And I would just like to submit this to anyone who has the time or the care to read the Bible. If none of this is making any sense when you look into Genesis and all this, if you will just read Hebrews and then just read it again and read it again, this has nothing to do with genetics and flesh. When it says all the families of the earth, Hebrews makes it very clear. This is a spiritual seed here. We're talking about the Christians, those that believe in Jesus Christ, those that believe on God. Those are the people that get this blessing. We are the people that get the peace that Isaiah 66 is, is talking about. This has nothing to do with genetics or race or anything of that nature.
The only people that that care about the race and really at the core of it is the Khazarian mafia.
Right.
Because they're like, if you're of that bloodline, you're able to be saved. If you accept Jesus and deny your sin, you're able to be saved. If you're a genetic Jew, like an actual genetic from the tribe of Judah, you're able to be saved. You're all able to be saved. The point is that cabal of the Khazarian mafia hates every other race, and they project that and they use that hatred and cause us to all hate each other.
Yes.
They call all. Take a look at the slave ships. Go look at those slave ships. If there's anybody here, if you're a black person, go look at the slave ships. Go see who it is. Go see who foments all of this racism. Go see what Jews say about white people. Go see what they say about the white race. Go see, the Holocaust of between 50 and 60 million Christian by Bolshevik Jews in Russia.
It's just crazy, bro.
Look at it. Please look at it.
It's crazy.
This is those Bolsheviks, the cultural Marxists that everybody is talking about. Who do you think the cultural Marxists were?
Right.
Who do you think the Bolsheviks were? Who do you think Karl Marx was? What do you think he was? Where do you think all of this comes from? It's about domination. They don't care about it. Communism was just a vehicle. Capitalism is just a vehicle. I believe capitalism is way better than communism. But once it's infiltrated by the Khazarian mafia, you have what you have today. Corporatism and monopoly. Power and domination and control.
Right.
And look at what they put in our foods, man. Just look at it.
Horrible.
Right.
It's turning the frogs gay. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, well, it's turning everybody gay. Just go take a look around, man.
Right.
We got football players when they score touchdowns out there twerking like a woman. Look at the way they dress. My son's basketball team, they all wear like flaming pink shoes.
It's weird.
It's weird, bro. Why is everybody like feminine and everybody's attracted to like what were technically feminine color? It's just really weird. That's why I make my sons box and do push-ups and yell at them.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. That's so funny. Austin's son gave me this black eye.
that's real. And Ross is a 3rd-degree black belt, so yeah, it's real. My son's a monster. I love that kid. But yeah, well, I'm gonna train all that atrazine out of him. You ain't making these frogs gay.
Amen, brother.
I got the documents.
Funny.
I saw Alex Jones, after years of being accused of being an Israel shield, has come out and just gone off.
Yeah. I'm glad, man, personally.
Well, I mean, how much of our inheritance for our children are you going to give away? Think about all of the world used to admire the U.S. They did.
Yeah.
They used to admire. You can look in like the Chinese papers and stuff. They used to admire us for being a Protestant Christian nation and our values and the way we did things and went about things. Our relationship with Israel and going around the middle, our reputation is shot.
Right.
Economically, spiritually, culturally, we're a laughing stock. And now this new law, everybody can see who the masters are. It's not us. We're just the tax shadow. They've used the capitalist system and the pre-market system to basically we all just work and do our jobs and pay taxes and pay taxes and pay taxes. We pay 40% or more of our income, probably closer to 70%, but sales tax and death tax and inheritance tax, capital gains tax, tax on this, tax on that, climate tax, gas tax. I mean, everything we pay, we're tax to death. They're constantly robbing us. The American Revolution started over a 2% tax on tea. Think about that. And then now we're getting paid 40%. At least 40% of our money goes to taxes, and it's going to fight wars that don't get us nothing, and just put money into international bankers, into the military-industrial complex, and grease all the palms of Congress. And that's what it comes down to. They're robbing us to rob us some more. They're robbing us to rob us some more. We're being robbed, and the people, we are so programmed conditioned. They've got people here saying, they're our closest ally.
So silly.
You want to look up the definition of cuck? Look up the definition of cuck. I bet it looks like a freaking mirror. Please rob me some more, my greatest ally. Oh, you just want more? Here, take some more of that and some weapons. We're great friends, right? Yeah? Oh, it's okay if they just killed 4,000 Americans on 9/11 and caused many more to go over and die overseas in wars that had nothing to do with 9/11 or anything for us. Right?
Bananas, bro.
But they're our closest ally, the chosen ones. How stupid have we been? How stupid have we been? This is I'm so glad today happened. I'm so glad today happened because people are actually going to listen.
Yes.
And big shout out to all the Jewish people that have come out and and brought light to this over the years and been honest about things and been good people. You have a lot of good people like that. I mean, Glenn Greenwald is one of them. I mean, seems to be a really good journalist. We probably don't line up on everything politically and definitely not spiritually, but at least he's honest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's been lots of those, so shout out to them. It's not even hating on anybody genetically. That's not what it's about. It's about what you do, and it's about the mafias and this Khazarian mafia, which is made out of these Ashkenazi Jews that are not Semitic. They're Jews who say they're Jews but are not and do lie. Just like the Bible says in Revelation. That's exactly what they are. That's who we're dealing with today. Now, it says in the end times that the two witnesses, right? And they call it, and in that section, isn't it that section that says that that city where our Lord was crucified, that is spiritually Sodom and Egypt?
Yeah, spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
Where the false prophet and all that's going to be at. So you're looking at the Antichrist, basically home base, is going to be right there in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Let me pull that verse up, boy. You keep on going.
Well, when you're funding Israel, understand that's the future you're building. Do you want your money going over to build a temple, to kick the Jews out, set off World War III, or kick the Arabs out, set off World War III? You know what we need to bring up? I don't know if this is 100% verified true. I don't know that. I don't think anybody knows that, but I think it's interesting to read Can we bring up Albert Pike's letter to Mazzini about the 3 world wars?
Yeah.
Let's check this out. Albert Pike is a 33rd degree Freemason. He was known as the Pope of Freemasonry. He wrote books like Morals and Dogma. He was instrumental in the Ku Klux Klan, by the way.
Indiana, where he started that branch.
Indiana was the last stronghold of the Klan.
Yeah, that is Albert Pike. And if I'm not mistaken, he was a general for the Union in the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it the Union or the Confederacy?
I think it was the Union.
I thought it was Confederacy. I could be wrong. It may be.
All right, screen share is up. Okay, Albert Pike, in a letter to Mazzini in 1871, outlined plans for 3 world wars that were seen as necessary to bring out the one world order. This blueprint has been used to predict events that have already taken place, and some believe it is still being followed today to engineer the planned, we'll get that off my screen, the planned 3rd and final war. It's how these guys operate, man.
Well, let's read what it actually says about these 3 wars, because this letter was supposedly written, I believe, in like 1867. So for y'all that don't know, that's before World War I, and it describes in detail what happened in World War I and the outcome of it, and it does the same thing for World War II, and it says that it would bring forth the Zionist state. The one thing that makes me think this letter is not real is that it does say Nazis in this, and there was no Nazi party, at least that I know of at the time, unless the Nazism was something else, was something that was around longer than what I realized. So let's read what it says about World War III. We won't bore everybody with the whole thing.
Sounds good. All right, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. Again, taking advantage of the differences of the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and the political Zionism, in parentheses, the state of Israel, remember there is no state of Israel yet, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue.
Hold on 1 second there, Bronson.
What's that?
Let me just clarify this. In this letter, when it describes the Second World War, it says the outcome of that will result in a Zionist Jewish state. So it did not happen yet, but it was referenced before in the letter as that was going to be the outcome of World War II. So that was already a concept that was developed in this letter early on. So it's not, just randomly saying that. That was earlier.
What you just now mentioned is currently highlighted on the screen for anybody who's watching. Right. Zionism to be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of the Israel of Palestine. So that happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been accurate. I'm just trying to save everybody time. But you can go find this. But for right now, take my word for it. It's the first world wars were predicted pretty accurately.
Yeah, indeed. And the outcome of the second is enough to give more validity to this. And then with what we see today, this third one seems pretty spot on too. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. And it goes on to saying that we shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist. And if you want me to continue, I will. But
this until the end is very important.
Sure.
Why they're doing this? Yeah.
We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. I have never read that part before. That is, wow. Anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into the.
Whoa. Don't breeze by that.
Sorry, I have read that.
And you can stop right there. You don't even have to go any further. That's what I wanted everybody to hear. Can we just read like that last sentence, one more time?
Sure. Disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. So it's only one more sentence. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time.
Yep. So the Jews and Islam will take each other out, Christianity and the atheists, and that makes room for Lucifer to come in. And he received the light of Lucifer, which is, according to Albert Pike in Morals and Dogma, Lucifer is the god of Freemasonry.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
Currently on screen, I have the verse that you referred to earlier, where we've got the two witnesses, and he gives his power unto them. These guys get killed, man, and they're killed right here in verse 8. Their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. I wonder where that is. It is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So,
where was our Lord crucified?
Yep, in Jerusalem, and this is where the dead bodies shall lie in the street. This is, and if you're unfamiliar with this section of the Bible, dude, they rejoice over the fact that these guys are here. It's 2 verses down.
Yeah, they give each other gifts.
Yeah, man, they're happy. It's in verse 10. They that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. It's crazy, man.
After 3 days, what is it? A voice shouts out and says, "Come up here," and they rise up and ascend into heaven.
Yes, they stand on their feet. Great fear falls upon them all. Come up here, the voice from heaven, and they ascend up into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies behold them. It's crazy.
But that's going down in Jerusalem.
Yeah, the 2 witnesses, the people that these are like legends in the Christian world. This is something that if you're not a Christian and you're watching this is legendary topic here. People have been discussing who are these 2 witnesses for a very, very long time. Lots of ideas, lots of whatever. But when this is spoken about in the household of a Christian, if you're unfamiliar, the tone of the conversation, we're talking about these guys like they're really something special. And they are. They're able to spit fire out of their mouth. They're able to do all sorts of amazing things. They devour their enemies. And if any man hurt them, he must be killed in this manner, that the fire proceeds out of their mouth. It's very, very, for lack of a better term, fantastical. And so when you hear Christians talk about the 2 witnesses, we talk about them really, really highly, man. And then we find out they die, and everyone just always glosses over the fact that where they die is in Jerusalem, and the people that kill them are the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So there's that.
Well, let's look at the descriptors of that there. It's spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Let's think about that for a minute.
Yeah, man.
What was going on in Sodom?
Depends on who you ask. Let's just say sodomy, and then in my personal opinion, there was a lot of extraterrestrial love-making wishes.
I think there was a lot of that in Sodom and Gomorrah. But yeah, so some weird things going on in Sodom, and then Egypt. You had the polytheistic system, right? You had, I wonder what it means by Egypt, because it could be a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what it's not? It compares them to both nations that were against God, and God brought destruction on them.
Big
The 10
plagues.
plagues of Egypt and the complete destruction of Sodom.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's not places that were after God's heart, to say the least. So I don't believe, no matter what you want to tie to it there, and I've seen many things tied to it over the years, there's nothing good about it.
Right, right. And just a little fun fact while we're here, if you're ever reading through the Bible, and you're looking through prophecy and stuff, when you're seeing the word Sodom, you're seeing the word Egypt, it might behoove you sometimes to replace that word with Jerusalem, and some things start to click that may not have clicked before. How are they making prophecy about nations that have already been destroyed before? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense until you change that word. It says, which is spiritually called, and in the prophetic word, they're speaking in a spiritual tense. So spiritually, Sodom and Egypt. Just a fun little tidbit there, just to throw that out, because
you call it, it's a place of wickedness.
Yeah.
And you know, I wonder when it says, you know, things like when the Gentiles are trampling on Jerusalem, if that would be this time here, because technically, you know, Ashkenaz would be like the definition of a Gentile. Even in Genesis 10, when it starts describing it, it's like these are the Gentile nations who divided the isles between themselves, you know. So
never thought about it like that before.
So maybe this is the time when the Gentiles are trampling on Jerusalem.
Very good point. Never thought about it. Like, wow, actually, that's wow, that just went full circle. That had never come to mind to think about it quite like that before.
Because I mean, they're trampling all over.
Yeah, that's evident. That is self-evident just by looking around and just making an observation.
And every time you see Israel come up in the news, ask yourself, does this story I'm hearing sound like peace flowing like a river? And if it's not, then just understand that this is not the nation. 1948 was not the nation in a day. That's not true.
Right.
Break the programming. Break the conditioning. Break it. Break it. Snap out of it. Snap out of it.
Can I go through a few verses real quick since we're on that subject here? I'm going to go through this is rapid fire here, so here we go. Romans 2:27. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter uncircumcision does transgress the law? For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. Remember, we're just talking about circumcision now. He is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. We're not talking about genetics. We're not talking about that's not a Jew. Neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh. Romans 2:29. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart. So that would mean anybody. I don't care if you're from Morocco, if you're from you're an Aborigine down in Australia. If you have a circumcision of your heart and in the spirit, not of the letter, whose praise is not of men but of God, you are a Jew, which is one inwardly. They've stolen your title. Here's a couple more. Ready? This is in Romans 9. Okay, this is not Old Testament. Okay. Romans 9 verse 6, not as though the word of God hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Say that again. They are not all Israel which are of Israel. Neither because are they the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Okay, that is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of the God. This is a direct quote, by the way. I'm not rambling. This is in Romans 9:8. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Remember, when Hagar was told to be cast out, he said, cast out the bondwoman, for the child that is of the bond shall not be heir with the child that is of the free. Therefore, brethren, you are not the children of bondage, but you are of the children of the free. You are circumcised inwardly of the heart and of the spirit, making you a Jew because you are of one inwardly. It has nothing to do with being outward. It's all over the Bible. Paul just does a really great job of saying it. By faith, okay? Abraham, when he was tried, we're in Hebrews now, probably maybe the best book in all of the New Testament. Hebrews 11:17, by faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and that he had received the promises, offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence he also received him in a figure. This is Isaac shall thy seed be called. This is an amazing parable right here. It's an allegory for how you are going to die to the flesh and be raised up again. And Abraham never thought he was going to kill Isaac. He was never tricked by God or tested by God the way these pastors do. It says right here in Hebrews 11 that Abraham accounted that God was just going to raise him up from the dead anyway. It was never. It
was through faith. He had faith that no matter what, he'd already told him that through his seed you'd be called. And Isaac had no seed, so he knew, hey, if I kill him, it doesn't matter. The Most High will raise him up. Whatever the Most High asks me to do. What's great about that is that he also didn't make Abraham go through that. He just wanted to see his faith.
Yes.
He did not make Abraham go through with that, even though he's well within his power to raise him from the dead.
Absolutely.
So even though he could have, he still didn't make Abraham go through that traumatic experience or Isaac feel that pain.
Exactly.
So not only he wants to see your faith so he can show you mercy and kindness and goodness. All he asks for is a little bit of faith. That's another lesson more.
Not genetics.
Let's go also to where Jesus was talking to the Pharisees and said, I could raise you, the Father could raise descendants of Abraham from these stones.
Yeah.
Jesus,
that would be probably in John, because if I'm not mistaken, John the Baptist is the one that tells them that, right? Let me look at that real quick.
It could be. I thought Jesus was talking to him.
Let me look at that real quick. God raised Abraham from the stones. It's Luke, excuse me. All right, Luke 3. Makes sense, because Luke does go through everything, like really everything. Okay. This is our man. He is crying in the wilderness. Here's what he asked him to bring forth, okay? This is John the Baptist talking. Amazing human being. Luke 3, verse 8. Bring forth, therefore, fruits worthy of repentance. Let's zoom that in here. He doesn't say, bring forth, therefore, your birth certificate, your 23andMe. He says, bring forth, therefore, fruits worthy of repentance, and begin not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. It's all over the book, man. This is why, I'm so glad you've had time to process all this stuff and you're in a much better headspace than I am. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm in a mood about the whole thing, because it's like, how many times are we going to go over this? How many times are we going to do this? How many times has the Bible got to say it before we just get to the point where, like, bro, the Jews, your genetics got nothing to do with it, bro. The real estate over there's got nothing to do with it.
The only people that care about genetics, when Jesus got here, the delivery system, as long as it was unsullied by Nephilim blood, basically,
right?
Okay. That was the point in keeping the bloodline pure, coming to that delivery system. After Jesus was born, bloodlines don't mean a thing.
Nope.
The only people that care about bloodlines are the royal families, because they're tracing the Nephilim blood. And that's it. That's the only people that care about that. God doesn't care about that. Doesn't care about that at all. Not at all. It's all over the place. It doesn't care about. The chosen people are the ones that accept Messiah.
Yes, circumcision of heart.
And I don't care what kind of Schofield reference Bible dispensational theology you got. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man come to the Father but by me.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if you're the Jewish Jew that ever Jewed. If you don't accept Christ as your Savior, you're not of the Israel of God.
It's not
It's
true
the
salvation.
Israel that matters, because that's the Israel that peace flows like a river from.
Right.
That's the Israel that
Right.
we were a part of. That's the legitimate Israel.
Right.
Not this fake Rothschild 1948 pyramid on top of the Supreme Court, Khazarian mafia, child sacrificing, pedophilia pushing,
Tunnel digging.
Epstein Island, transgender. We ain't even got to the transgender part yet. Guess where that comes from?
Talmud, baby.
8 different genders in the Talmud. Gender is fluid. That's where it comes from.
Go ahead and reference.
Moral decay you see is from these wicked, wicked people, and from this, what they call the oral Torah, which is nothing of the Torah, which is a slap in the face to the Most High.
All right, let me screen share real quick here. We are on myjewishlearning.com. And
Boy, hey.
Yeah, buddy. Sometimes I hate even clicking on these links. I don't even want to give them the ad the ad revenue. Let me just highlight this real quick. If you can see this, and I'll go ahead and zoom in. These are your 8 genders right here. Again, this is myjewishlearning.com. This isn't myantisemiticdoctrine.com. This is myjewishlearning.com. This is the 8 genders of the Talmud. This is, yeah, man. I have to choose my words wisely and be nice, because some of the stuff I hadn't seen yet. The Rumble video and all that, I hadn't even seen that yet. So it's like some of this is still in. How am I not supposed to be irritated? Okay, I mean, if you got a love for Christ, you got a love for the Holy Spirit, and you got a love for the Bible, I'm not sure how you're not supposed to be irritated by this. Look at all the things.
This one thing for you: you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, and I hate them too.
Amen, bro.
So
that's a quote from Revelation. If you're unaware what he just said.
Yes. So these people that have so much power are just wicked. They're wicked people, and they've been around for a long, long time and controlling the world for a long time. It's documented, at least back to Napoleon, funded every war on both sides of every war. So all of the money is blood money. I mean, it is. It's all a curse. If you really, really get down to it, it's scary, man. It's scary, the amount of control that these people have, the amount of influence they have. And look at anybody that goes against them or tries to have their own gold-backed currency. Look what happens to them. Look what happened to Gaddafi. You know, when I was a kid growing up in school, they'd have like the list of the largest armies in the world, and of course China's number 1 because of the population, but especially back then they were no threat. We had the 2nd largest army. Do you know who was number 3?
And what time period is this? Sorry.
90s.
The 3rd largest army in the world?
Yeah. Iraq.
Really? Oh, that was not in my top 5 guesses.
At least that was what was in my textbook, and that may have been an old textbook. But
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, we decimated that. All the threats in the region have been neutralized, except for Iran. And it makes you wonder about all the terrible things we hear come out of Iran. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you start getting into this and seeing, like, it starts making you question a lot of things. And when you start getting feelings about something, like a lot of this we've gone over here, has just been me getting a feeling about certain things on here, and just kind of looking and being like, oh God, this is exactly what I thought it was. Oh God, it's worse than I thought it was.
All right.
Oh wow, it's so infiltrated you can't see out of it. It's It's something Christians got to wake up to, man.
Yes, dude.
Because you have all the biggest church leaders in Christianity are, yay, Israel, like all the time, no matter what they do. Glass Gaza, Christians for genocide. That's something that really sells well when you're trying to convert a Middle Easterner. Yeah.
If it don't bother you, man, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like I hate to be condescending and rude and look down on anybody. It's not like that, but I mean, bro, how long have we been recording? We've been doing this for hours now, and we haven't stopped, bro.
I haven't even got into it, bro. Like, really, we haven't even really got into the crux of it. I've stopped on certain ideas because I don't want to make it too extreme. But I mean, dude, we can make this really depraved if you want. Like if we really wanted to, we could pull up Talmud quotes. We could pull up that video I sent you about all the quotes talking about how they want to get rid of the white race and rape every girl and woman of the white race. Right. Like, and we're not skinheads or anything like that. This is their quotes. I'm just telling you. And blacks, you ain't no better, man. Yeah. Trust me, man. It's not good for anybody else. It's not. We're all cattle, but they seem to really, really hate the white race. And when people bring it up, the people hating the white race, you're white power. And no, dude. I'm Jesus power. Everybody, humanity power. Like, I want everybody to do good. The only people that want everybody fighting and hating each other and distracted and just battling against each other are these Khazarian mafia types. And then they fund it. And look at all the organizations they fund. I mean, just take a look at it. It funds hate. And it funds hate between all the other peoples of the world and keeping us fighting while they just keep making money hand over fist, and us in America are just working our tails off, funded the international war machine for these clowns.
Right. Almost everything that you hate about life, everything you wish could be better about life, almost every bit of it comes from this select group of people. It's crazy. I mean, can we recap? I mean, I've closed a lot of tabs.
Let's show one more thing. Let's put a bow on that transgender thing, okay?
Okay.
The thing in Western society, a lot of people get upset about is all these sex change surgeries and doing sex changes in minors and pushing these types of things at schools. Could we show where the first sex change occurred at? This is groundbreaking. Who ran this place? Where was it? And what happened afterwards?
I mean, right off the rip, you didn't even got to open a link. This is what happens right here. It's your first Germany. Karl M. Bauer, who underwent a female to male sex change operation in Germany. Jeez Louise, I didn't know it was quite that early. 1906.
Yep. And where was it done at?
A German Israeli insurance salesman. Jeez Louise. All right. I know it was in Germany.
Yeah, but where did he get it done? He didn't just get it done on the street.
This is a tabloid. This is going to be nothing but ads and garbage I don't really want on my screen. Let me back down just a little bit. Johns Hopkins University opened the first sex reassignment surgery. Nope, that's not correct.
Nope.
Not correct at all. Berlin surgeons earliest.
It is in Berlin for sure.
Oh my gosh, I've never Googled anything like this in my life, and I'm just I'm not a hateful person, I promise, but there's just certain things I just
Well,
don't.
this is where it all comes from. It comes from these people. I'll go ahead and tell you, we can play and we can show documentation on this. And I know Candace Owens got into heat with the Daily Wire because they brought this up, but it's facts. And you can look through Candace Owens' tweets and find this if you like. This happened right before she got fired from Daily Wire. It was a Jewish Khazarian guy that opened up this place, and they were distributing all kinds of pornography and homosexual pornography and gender affirming care of the earliest. And this is when you hear about the burnings and all that. That's what they were burning. They were burning basically gay porn and transsexual porn and documents about how to do sex surgeries. So when they get all upset about book burnings, just remember what kind of person is angry 100 years later because someone burns their gay porn stash. So anytime you hear about the book burnings in Berlin, just understand that's what it is. That's the knowledge they're mad they lost. And now they're here cutting your kid's dick off. Isn't that great? While you send your straight kids off to go die in their wars. Isn't that great? While they steal all your money while you slave and work to death and can barely afford to keep the lights on. Isn't that great? Our greatest allies are
chosen people.
Our heroes. Masters, lick the boot. Break your programming. Break it. Break it. Wake up. Wake up or your children and grandchildren will be slaves at best. At best, slaves. Wake up. Please break the conditioning. I get frustrated, man. I talk to people who are like,
rightfully so.
You know what I mean? And like, dude, a lot of the stuff I've been carrying around, and I send you stuff from time to time and stuff, but I try not to go down the rabbit hole today. But when that law came out this morning, I was like, you know what, bro? We're just going to do it. We're going to lay a lot of the stuff out. And dude, we haven't even scratched the surface.
No.
Haven't even scratched the surface. We go even deeper on this, way deeper.
Grosser.
There's a lot of stories and background. We didn't really cover the U.S. Liberty too much. In Israel's early days, things that happened with Egypt and quotes from the Shah in Iran before the revolution. There's a lot of stuff like that. And a lot of people claim the original tribe of Judah were black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Including people in the Middle East and in Africa. There's the Ethiopian set of people that claim to be Jewish and descendants from Solomon and Queen Sheba, right?
Yeah.
So, but they also claim that they took the Ark of the Covenant back there.
And they present a pretty strong case for that, not going to lie to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I believe it's in Revelation that says that the Ark of the Covenant is in heaven. I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody really knows. You can spend.
And it's cool to look into, and that's a fun topic, man. But to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter to our salvation and the spiritual. And honestly, right now, we look at how taxes have changed since the early 1900s, what percentage you pay, and just look at the world around you. I mean, it's still okay because the people are okay. But once the creature comforts go away, there's no spiritual foundation of where people are just going to pick them up by the bootstraps and have a community singing Kumbaya. It's going to be, just think about the toilet paper wars of 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On a much larger scale with no clean drinking water, electricity, or anything, if things go bad.
Remember what Albert Pike said when he said when they get into this place where they're going to be looking for the spiritual and they have no compass, no direction, no foundation. And all of a sudden, here comes this light bearer, Lucifer, and they'll go flocking to it, man.
Come slithering on in, ye shall be as gods.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
You
so.
know what? After all this hardship, being a God sure does sound good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and the reason those people would be looking for direction, do you know why they'll be looking for directions? Because all they do is take direction.
Right.
They don't study for themselves. Anybody that believes that the Israel over there in 1948 is so deluded, it's insane.
Right. You just haven't read it. I have a hard time believing you that you actually read the Bible for what the Bible's. I just have a hard time. I'm sure you read some verses that were projected onto a screen for a man who's on a stage up there, but I just have a hard time believing that you actually read the book. I mean, I could be wrong, but bro, how many verses have we pulled up today? You are not Israel that are of Israel. He is not a Jew that is one inwardly, but he is one inwardly, but is not one outwardly. It's not circumcision of the flesh. Here's the thing: for people like you and me that live the lifestyle that we live, we get called legalistic a lot. But it's like, who is the legalistic one? The one who wants to serve as God to the best of his ability and love him and believes that faith is what's going to save him? Or the person that believes that genetics is what makes people a chosen people by God? That sounds really legalistic to me. Like, I thought of that the other day, and it's like, you know, they go off calling people legalistic, and yet circumcision of the flesh and a genetic 23andMe makes you God's chosen people. That's the legalism, bro. You know what I'm trying to say?
What's funny about it is when the 23andMe says 100% Ashkenazi Jew like Ben Shapiro, that means you're not even the chosen people of the Old Testament.
Thank you.
So what are you?
Who's are you?
Even Mafia.
Yeah. It just goes in a circle. We've done it for hours, bro. It's for hours we've been doing this.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, why would people get so upset that are self-proclaimed Christians when you say Christ is king? Oh, that's anti-Semitic. Well, I'm sorry that Christ being king hurts your feelings, you Khazar, but I don't care. Don't you have enough money and small children to keep you happy? Christ is king.
Right.
And every knee will bow. Your knee's going to bow. Revelation says you will bow down. And you will bow down.
You will.
I don't care how much money you have. I don't care about how many lawyers you send from the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't think God cares. I think all your little puny, worldly plannings and schemings, I think that in the end, it's just going to be nothing. And I think that you're going to bow down. And I think all of this, I don't think any of us are going to shut up. And I'm not going to shut up until the death. I'm never going to deny Christ. You know, Mom always taught us, you know, I'm never going to deny Christ. I don't care what you do to me. And I'm never going to stop speaking the truth. I don't care if my family thinks I'm crazy. I don't care if anybody does. The truth is the truth. And if people don't like it, oh, you know, live and let live. You know, go along and get along. No, dude. No. We've gone along and got along until we're living in debt slavery up to our eyeballs. You know, every dollar we spend is blood money, is a curse because it's been around the world being spent to murder children and to sex traffic children. We're in a fallen system, and I'm as patriotic as the next man.
Right.
We're in a fallen system right now, and it's to the point that we're so infiltrated that we're going to have to do something new.
Imagine telling the Sons of Liberty, well, just try to be positive, man. Just go along to get along, you know?
It's just 2%.
Yeah, it's just some tea, bro. Come on, man. It's.
Well, a lot of people did. It was only 3% of them that started the revolution.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't.
No, you told me that.
Yeah. So
it's always been this way. The many people bow, few people stand, but it just takes a few. All it took was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All it took was Daniel. All it took was what's his name that stood by the gates? Malachi. Excuse me. It was Malachi standing by the gates. All it takes is Ezra. You know, and Zerubbabel. I mean, come on, man.
Look how God has used so many people over the years. Look, it was important enough to be mentioned in Revelation in back-to-back chapters. Same verse. 2:9, then 3:9.
Right.
It's important enough. The Jews who say they're Jews but are not Jews but do lie.
Synagogue of Satan.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And it tells you the similar things in back-to-back chapters, same verse. That's God's way of highlighting and circling and putting big stars next to something to tell you something.
Right.
Is there? I don't know of any other example of that in the Bible, of where it's chapter, back-to-back chapters, same verse, same message.
Right.
It to the churches, two different churches.
Right.
Given that message, it's an important message. It's what we're dealing with today. You're dealing with these Khazars, and honestly, probably some of Esau's descendants. I mean, I'm sure it's an amalgamation of evil and people that marry into these families. Look at all the families the Rothschilds have married into.
Right.
The Astors, Aldo Brandinis. We don't talk about the Vatican families a lot. That's something we could get into. But there's 13 of those as well. Yeah. A lot of people say that those are the real 13 families. But at the very top of it, who's running the show in finance and all that, are the Rothschilds. And have been for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And all this is so easily Googleable and YouTubeable. I mean, you just look up Rothschild family, look up, John D. Rockefeller, look up these guys and see where they got started. I mean,
they're married into all the royal families too.
Yeah.
So
this is Googleable, bro. This is Google.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all there, and it's a lot of people that's in on it. Like, you got the Klaus Schwabs and I mean, go down the list of the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of Steens and golds and silvers and all kinds of precious metals that have ran that thing since the beginning. And Bergs and,
It's crazy, man.
Well, that's how they make their money. That Khazarian mafia, they don't work. They don't work with their hands. It's always the cattle. They use beast of burden, me and you, to generate products and everything else, and they use our work to generate money, and then they lend us money that we work to generate more money for them, and then charge exorbitant interest rates, which they set.
Right. With no standard, just whatever you want.
And no control.
Right. No checks, no balances.
Yeah. And ask Gaddafi how well it went trying to have your own gold-backed currency outside of the IMF. That's right. You can't.
Yeah.
They hired mercenaries to rape, and kill him.
Yeah.
And drag him through the street. As a big, you guys remember those pictures when he died? Message. Better not try that crap again.
Right.
Sending a message.
Right.
Don't try that. Hey, by the way, don't forget who Big Daddy is.
Right. It's the same thing with JFK, bro. It's the same exact thing. It's
bow down and kiss the smeckle, you dirty goyim. It's about that time. See you, Gaddafi. Your people love you. Too bad.
Right. Right. You want to do your own thing and not be a part of our world order? This is the punishment that you receive for these things. We're nearing around 1 a.m. It is a Thursday night. I know we both got tomorrow. Is there anything else you want to go over real quick? I'll end it on a positive note. I've got a nice verse that I love to use anytime I cover this subject. But is there anything else you want to go over before we close this thing out?
There's a lot that I want to go over, man, and I wish I would have been a little more succinct. But it's a lot of emotion for me, man, because I was lied to my entire childhood about this, and listening to John Hagee preach about how great Israel is, and told by all the politicians I was supposed to trust on my wing of bird of prey that Israel is our greatest ally and everything else, and come to find out, nope, not at all. It's all a lie. and it's kind of disheartening. So I get a little emotional. I wish I would have done a better job saying a few things, but
no, dude, you did great.
I love everybody. I love no matter what race you are, Jews alike. If you're not a Khazarian mafia, child trafficking, pedophile, piece of crap, then you're all good in my book. So I just want to say that it's not a message of hate. It's the message of, hey, wake up. These people hate us.
Right.
These people hate us. They're dominating us. They're causing. I mean, think of all the people that died in Ukraine. Think about all the Russians and Ukrainians and it's all for nothing, man. It's all for their game. I don't know if they're trying to retake Khazaria or what the real deal is there, but the coup in 2014 over there was by our intelligence agencies, or apparently, because we can't criticize them, they must be our masters. So apparently controlled by the Israeli IDF and the Mossad. But it seems to be the case, since we can't speak out against them. I don't know, man. I just want everybody to wake up and realize that, you know what, there is another way. There is a better way. The way of the true Messiah, the way of true Israel, the way of spiritual Israel, the Israel talked about, to where peace will flow from that land like a river.
Yes.
That's to me, that's the uplifting and the hope that, that one day we will actually have that, and all this counterfeit garbage that's so dark, and just hidden in layers of deceit and mystery and collusion and just deceit's a good word for it. Will all pass away, and that we'll be with Father one day, and every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, and I won't have to be forced. So,
right. Gladly do it, man. I'm glad you took the time out of your weekday to do this, man. It means a lot to me. I'll be making sure to send it out to as many people as possible. When we talk about that peace, man, flowing like a river, that's perfect to lead off on this verse. People always tell you, man, why can't you just be positive? It's like, I'm positive that it sucks right now. it's
there's a lot of positive things, man, but just in everyday life, and you can always find beauty in anything. And I love all the people in my life. I love a lot of the little material things I have and everything like that. But when it comes down to on the grand scheme of things and what's going on, and when you just see lies pumped into your TV and over the radio and on the newspapers and when you scroll through social media or news websites or whatever, man, it's important to realize that these people do run it, and that they're trying to influence you through propaganda, and there's a reason they're in charge of all the media, because it's important to manipulate the way you think. Yeah. So while on just a surface level, when you wake up in the morning, you get a cup of coffee, you see the kids, get ready for work, go, everything's okay right now on the surface level, but it may not always be that way, and it won't always be that way.
No.
But there's so much programming going on. So I've said break the program, because you're programmed. We've all been programmed. Me and you just broke out of it a long time ago, man. We've been hanging out with Morpheus, chilling. But today is a perfect opportunity for this being signed to wake people up to this. It's not all doom and gloom. There is hope. There is good people out there. But you got to show some of the doom and gloom when people are open to receiving. They're like, what's going on? What? Can't that's against the First Amendment. Well, these people are internationalists. They don't care about your Constitution. They use the toilet paper. So that's why it's not to just be doom and gloom. It's reality, and reality on the world stage, and it will affect you, and it does affect you every day. It affects the way you see things. Look at the way you thought the Bible taught. You thought 1948 was the nation in a day. We shall tonight it's not.
Right.
So that's just one little thing. It's about breaking the program and living in reality and living in what really God's word is. Because believe me, these evil people are going to use their fake Bible prophecy narrative they've weaved over American evangelicals, and they have been for a long time, to propagate war and death of our children, and the theft of exorbitant taxations. And I mean, so it's important. That's why we're talking about it. And maybe next week we can do a segment on sunshine and rainbows, make everybody feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. But the devil's at work here, and the only hope is Jesus Christ in this world. There's no hope in any politician. There's no hope in anything but Jesus Christ. So as long as you have hope in Jesus Christ, it can be uplifting and you can have a good time and everything else. But man, if I didn't believe in Jesus and knew all this, I definitely wouldn't.
No way. No way. This is from the book of John here, Gospel of John. It says, and yet, this is Jesus Christ talking here. He says, and yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things have I spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. Not in a piece of real estate. In me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. I use that verse anytime we cover this subject, man, because at the end of the day, bro, like you said, every knee bows. In him is your peace, in him is your truth, in him is your comfort. Yeah. He's overcome the world, man. You just do your part and do your thing, and God's gonna handle the rest, bro. It's a fact.
Anybody that's made it this far, thanks for watching the video, and we really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff you hear on every channel. We're trying to get the word out, go verse by verse, line by line on the Bible, on the Genesis commentary. It's not just going to be Khazaria Mafia every week, but today when this came out, we had to come on and say it. I'm sorry if we hurt anybody's feelings. All I can do is just, not just me, but Bronson and anybody really, is just put out the truth the best we know it. And all I can tell you is that we have been lied to. Please go out and do your research. Look at all this. Search it in and out. Talk to God. And just, train your children up to not be slaves to this machine. Right. People say, well, what can I do? Well, you can affect it on your nuclear family level. So just, not teaching hatred, but teaching awareness. I don't want anybody to hate anybody, even these Khazarians. I hate their works, but we can't hate them. We get mad and everything else, and the Viking blood in me gets rolling, and I just want to grab the hammer and start swinging, man. But really, we got to come against it on the spiritual realm and bind the powers that give these people this power, because they are tied into dark entities. We didn't get into that as much as we could have, but I think we went as far down the rabbit hole that might be palatable to most people. So probably a little further. So we'll leave it there. But guys, please remember to like, subscribe, share out. If you got anything good out of it, let us know in the comments. And we love y'all.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Night.